Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivaldo. If you are new to the channel, make sure to stick around, like, subscribe. Daily content for you guys. Today we're talking about the offensive line. Giants have their third day of OTAs today, getting some good action in, some 11v11 drills. Kind of getting a look at how the Giants are structuring this team up to this point. Of course, a lot of changes are going to happen. Brian Dable even went as far as to say that I wouldn't pencil in any of these as these starters now. We want to talk about who got the reps today and, the changes that could be incoming and the ones that we think that will happen. But before we dive into the offensive line, how it's looking so far, Anthony, how you doing today, my friend?
Doing great, and I think there's an interesting name that stands out on the offensive line. With the first team, I saw Shane Lemieux out there. Now, that surprises me a little bit, but it's kind of expected. He's got the experience. He's been with the team for a little while. And overall, the first starting lineup that we've seen at OTAs for the offensive line is about as you would expect. It's pretty much the same guys that you would expect that we've been projecting all along. But, it is subject to change, as Alex just mentioned. This is a long summer. This is only May, and they've got training camp in July. They've got preseason in August and then the season in September. A lot can change between now and then. Hopefully it doesn't change due to injuries. Hopefully it changes due to good performances throughout the summer. Maybe somebody earns a spot in the starting lineup and forces somebody to take a backup role, So that's kind of what you're hoping for with these OTAs, just kind of getting a feel for these players. There's a lot of players who are wearing red shirts, a lot of wide receivers wearing red shirts. You got KG, KT, and Sterling Shepard all wearing red shirts, meaning that they're recovering from injuries. So it'll be a little bit interesting to see how these guys progress back into game speed. But again, it's a long summer and it's going to be an exciting one at that.
Absolutely. Look, as you said, hopefully the injuries stay away from this team and we just have good, pure competition. No more handouts, right? We've been handing out starting jobs like candy on Halloween the last couple of years. And finally, I kind of get the sense that they have a lot more players that they're going to be bringing in, right? A lot of undrafted free agents. They just signed another defensive back today to come in and help, add some competition to that outside boundary corner position. So they added, 3 guys, Khalil Dorsey, Maurice Kennedy, and another one today. I think his name was Michael Jacquet, former Philadelphia Eagle and Jacksonville Jaguar. So a lot of these guys is coming in. Between them, maybe they have 10 starts in their career, but they have, at least some upside physically, and maybe they can learn the system. And 2 of them have experience in Wink Martindale's system alone. So there is benefits to that, and hopefully they can adjust and, help this team moving forward. But as for the offensive line, I mean, just at face value, it looks like 100 times better. Just the names alone, right? Evan Neal over Nate Solder. I would do that 100 out of 100 times, not even close. Nate Solder, definitely did his best turnstile impersonation last season, but he's gone now. We're paying him $4 million to not be on the team. And Evan Neal now taking over at right tackle, 6'8". What is he, 350 pounds? Some crazy. He's a mammoth of a human being. Really difficult to get around. Physical, aggressive. He's going to be an immediately better run blocker, and that's where we expect Saquon Barkley to really get involved in these running backs. To have a better opportunity to maximize in the running game, because the running game ultimately sets up the passing game, play action. If last year the Giants would just run the football because they couldn't pass, the offensive line would fall apart too much. The thing is, Evan Neal definitely has some weaknesses he has to iron out. He ends up on the ground a lot sometimes with that big frame. Those speed rushes around the edge are going to test him. He's going to have to adjust. But he was in there at right tackle starting, no doubt about it. Corey Cunningham, I believe, was at left tackle, but we know Andrew Thomas is starting at left tackle. So, he was just there because Andrew Thomas, I think, was just maybe ailing or nursing something, or just they didn't want to, they already know what he is. So they just want to, sit him down and make sure that he's healthy and ready to go for later on in the offseason. Then, of course, left guard, the interesting name, Shane Lemieux, right? A lot of people want to give Shane Lemieux an opportunity, and I'm not opposed to that whatsoever. Shane Lemieux, as far as I'm concerned, has just as good chance of winning the left guard spot as Max Garcia or Josh Ezeudu. All 3 of those guys, in my opinion, could easily win that job, right? Max Garcia being the most experienced, but we know what he offers. He's an average player, right? He's nothing crazy. He's not going to blow you out of the water. He's a serviceable player that at least has snaps under his belt at left guard, whereas last year we're plugging in Matt Skura. We're plugging in Ben Bredesen, who doesn't have a lot of reps. We're plugging in guys that just simply have not played a lot of football at the NFL level. At the very least, Max Garcia has a ton of experience. And Shane Lemieux has 1 year of experience, and coming off that partially torn patellar injury. Anthony, what does that say to you early on that Shane Lemieux is getting the reps right now? Maybe it's just we know what we have in Garcia. Josh Ezeudu is he's too raw to be getting into the mix just yet as like on the starting team. He needs to work his way up to it. Shane Lemieux is kind of just the placeholder for now. That's kind of how I perceive it.
Yeah, you could look at him as a placeholder for now, but the fact that Max Garcia wasn't in the starting lineup not only says that maybe he's not as favorable to the coaching staff as we initially thought, but it also probably says a lot about Shane Lemieux's injury progression. I mean, he did suffer a very serious injury last season, the torn patellar tendon. Now, all Giants fans should know that injury and be familiar with it because that is the one that Victor Cruz suffered in 2014, and that ultimately did derail his career. So that's a serious injury. It's not easy to come back from. It took Victor Cruz over a year to come back from that. So a lot of people believe that that's way worse than an ACL tear. ACL tears, I mean, those are pretty common. The surgeries are good. A lot of people get ACL transplants and then they're good. But a patellar tendon, that's literally what connects your bottom knee and your top knee. Like it connects your knee together right on the front. So it's a very serious injury. And Shane Lemieux already being back, ready to go. He doesn't have a red shirt on. We see, torn Achilles, Sterling Shepard, hip injury, Kenny Galladay, the ailments that Kadarius Toney was dealing with last season. All these guys are in red shirts. Granted, they're different sized people because they're wide receivers, but still, you take a look at Shane Lemieux and the injury that he suffered, no red shirt, just instantly getting involved with the first team at the first practices of the season. That's great news for him, for his injury progression. It's clear that he is healthy and he is ready to go. And by the time we get to September, he should be ready to rock and roll. And if he does earn that starting spot, well, then we know that he's healthy enough for it. He is there. He is ready to go. So I'm excited to see that. You guys know, if you've been long-term listeners of this podcast, I'm not a huge Shane Lemieux fan. I haven't been a fan of his work on the field. I think that he's had a lot of struggles and he's had a lot of weaknesses that get frequently exposed. His performances just have not been too great. But maybe with Bobby Johnson looks like a great coach. You listen to him speak, you read his quotes, he looks like he's ready to go. And he's kind of one of those guys that energizes his offensive linemen. So I'm hoping that Bobby Johnson can maybe get the most out of Shane Lemieux, improve him. And if he does win the starting job, I'm hoping to see a much better version of Shane Lemieux now post-injury than we ever saw pre-injury.
Yeah, and keep in mind, the injury to Shane Lemieux was a partial patellar tendon. It wasn't a full tear, so it doesn't require as much of a surgical, reconnection or surgical thing. Like they reattached it or whatever the hell they did. I don't exactly know, but it wasn't as serious as Victor Cruz's. So I think that him coming back a year later, this shouldn't be like a career like threatening thing. It should be a little bit less worrisome. But then again, you look at Shane Lemieux, and the only season we have to really work off of is 2020 season. He gave up 5 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, 14 hurries, 25 total pressures, and 504 offensive snaps, right? So he had a lot of really bad games. He had 3 games where he was like average, and the rest of them were he was one of the worst pass blockers in football. As a run blocker, still below average. But so if you're looking at him as a pure player from the tape that we do have, he's a below average pass blocker by far, arguably the worst in football when he was playing. And then he's an average to below average run blocker. So like, what are we expecting from Shane Lemieux? We need him to take a significant step forward, and coming off a partially torn patellar tendon, who knows what that looks like, right? We just don't know. Josh Ezeudu, though, he's quick. His feet are fast as hell. We did a breakdown of him a couple days ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago, actually. Go check that out. And you'll see how quick he really is. And he's powerful too. He's going to be a good player if he can get, his side, his connect his feet in his hands and really have that chemistry and that synchronization between them. He's going to be a good player. He needs coaching though. He needs time to develop. This season will be essential for him. So I do think he's going to get a lot of reps. Max Garcia, he's an average player. He's not going to blow you out of the water, and that's totally fine. Average is better than Matt Skura at left guard. That's all I can say. And, moving forward, like we just want to see progress, right? Mark Lewinsky is a good player, right? He has a lot more upside than meets the eye, right? He played really well for the Colts last season during the second half of that year, right? Second half of the season, he really stepped it up. He learned the system. He felt comfortable. They were really in a good rhythm. He was one of the best run blockers on the team. He was doing really well in pass protection. You put him next to Evan Neal, who's a 6'8", 350-pound behemoth of a human being. Just run to the right side, guys. Like that's Saquon Barkley. This is your opportunity to show us that you're back from that injury, right? Because Nate Solder last year and Will Hernandez, they could not open blocks. They could not open gaps up. Mark Lewinsky is a great run blocker when he's on, and Evan Neal is going to be a dominant run blocker day one. So like this is Saquon Barkley's opportunity to show the whole world that he is as good as everyone believes he really is, and that he can get back to that 2018 form. Now, the one thing I will say, what you said about Bobby Johnson, He wants all of his guys to be like John Feliciano, right? The guy we haven't mentioned yet, their starting center, a projected starting center, Nick Gates, working his way back, but it's going to take time. He's been really, really, really working hard to try and get back. He's still kind of weak, and his leg is dealing with a lot. So, like, I don't expect him to be available for at least the first half of the year, maybe the whole season. Who knows? This is that type of injury that requires significant attention and time to recover from, Anthony. But, like, if you're looking at John Feliciano, Bobby Johnson said that his nickname for him every day is Dirtbag, which is freaking hilarious, right? He calls him Dirtbag because he wants everybody on the team to be just like John Feliciano. They want him to be aggressive, physical, and just basically no F's given, right? John Feliciano is like the heart and soul, what I'm getting to, what I'm starting to get the feeling of. He's the heart and soul of this offensive line because Bobby Johnson wants everyone to be like him. And he literally said, they will not play if they do not play like John Feliciano, who has that extra edge, that Nick Gates kind of edge, right? Your center kind of has to have that. Evan Neal absolutely has it. Andrew Thomas definitely has it. Shane Lemieux, I think he has a mean streak too. Mark Lewinsky, I think he has it. Like all these guys are mean. Last year, our offensive line were a bunch of pansies, right? Nobody wanted to do anything. They didn't want to pancake anyone. They didn't want to put 100% effort in. They didn't want to do anything. They didn't get physical. Andrew Thomas was the one guy that stood out in Nick Gates before the injury, Anthony. Like, so when you're looking at this offensive line, how important do you think being really aggressive, and how do you think a guy like John Feliciano, underdog coming here, first time really starting as a center, how do you think he kind of plays into the mix?
Yeah, I feel like his role as a center is mainly being determined because of his familiarity with Bobby Johnson, right? Because they signed him throughout his career. He's primarily been a guard, but when the Giants signed him, they released their press statement. They said the Giants have signed John Feliciano to play center. And I think a lot of that has to do with communication between him and Bobby Johnson. Him and Bobby Johnson already have a relationship. They're carrying a nickname over from Buffalo. Like, they know each other. They've got a great relationship. And I think that it's a trust thing. Bobby Johnson trusts John Feliciano to be the leader on that offensive line and call protections from that center position, basically. I think he knows that he's the smartest and he's also the meanest, so he can set the tone. If he's the leader in the center of that offensive line, he can set the tone with that mean streak that you're mentioning that Bobby Johnson was discussing earlier today. Now, it's clear that John Feliciano has that mean streak. We know Evan Neal, Andrew Thomas, they've got that mean streak, and that's really the tone of the Giants' new offensive line. Mean, be aggressive, go get some pancakes. And I think that's something to really value when you take a look at what the Giants are trying to build through their offensive line. Bobby Johnson is leading them, and he's also putting John Feliciano in a position to be that leader, that mean streak leader, and also call the protections from that center position. So John Feliciano could be a huge role, like he could be a huge player in the Giants offense this year. He could be kind of make or break depending on how well he leads that offensive line. We know that the Giants have dealt with offensive line struggles in the past. This looks like a much improved offensive line on paper, but in practice, you need a good center. Call those plays, call those protections, be that guy, be that leader, set that tone. And I think setting that mean tone is the ultimate goal for John Feliciano.
Yeah, and look, your center has to have that. When the guys aren't looking, you want your center to be right up in their grill, pushing them to the ground and just bodying them. So I would love to see him do that. I can't wait to clip those during the games. It's going to be awesome. I'm sure everyone's going to love those. But Anthony, let's do one little exercise before we wrap this video up. If you were to give your settled projection, what is your starting offensive line day one? Let's assume no injuries, knock on wood, no injuries. Who's your starting five?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, no brainer at left tackle with Andrew Thomas and at right tackle with Evan Neal. I think John Feliciano has that center position locked in. I don't think even if Nick Gates is healthy, he can win that back just because John Feliciano's relationship with Bobby Johnson and the fact that he is the leader on that offensive line, as I just discussed. So I think John Feliciano is pretty comfortably locked into that center position. Right guard, Mark Lewinsky is the best option there. The only way I could see that changing is if Nick Gates comes back fully healthy. Because if you all recall, in 2019, I mean, he started out as a right tackle, but when Nick Gates moved to right guard, those were the best games of his career. In his NFL career, his best games did come at right guard in 2019. So potentially, if Nick Gates is fully healthy, he could take that job maybe one day, though. But honestly, when you take a look at Nick Gates, he suffered a setback in his injury recovery a while ago. I don't know if it's too likely that he's able to get that healthy to the point where he's ready to start games in this upcoming season. But taking a look at left guard, this is the camp battle. This, to me, is the most important position battle of this summer. I think it's the one that we're all going to have our eyes on. You've got obviously Shane Lemieux. He's winning it right now because he's taking reps with the first team, but that could change as early as next practice. Maybe they just wanted to start him there this time, and next time they're going to start Max Garcia and they're going to, rotate them in. We don't know, but that's the other name, Max
It's a good
Garcia,
idea.
Lemieux, and then also versus Joshua Ezeudu. So you've got three guys there that are kind of all on the same playing level. I mean, Joshua Ezeudu, less experience, but of course Shane Lemieux working back from injury, healthy, but still coming off of an injury. Max Garcia being the established veteran in this mix. So honestly, if I had to predict one, I think Max Garcia wins this job come September, but don't sleep on either Shane Lemieux or Joshua Ezeudu. Joshua Ezeudu does have that mean streak. He is a pancaker. He's a great run blocker. He fits in well with the mentality that Bobby Johnson is trying to build. He's just young. He's raw. He needs a lot of development. So I don't know if he'll be ready to start come September, but I know that Max Garcia will because he is a veteran, experienced left guard. So I think left tackle Andrew Thomas, left guard Max Garcia, center John Feliciano, right guard Mark Lewinsky, and right tackle that big man Evan Neal.
Yep. So I think I have the same except for left guard, and I'll throw in a take. I think that experience doesn't mean anything unless you're actually playing well. You know what I mean? Like Shane Lemieux, his experience, sure, he has experience, but he played absolutely awful football, right? So like, how much are we really valuing that experience? Personally, not that much. And then he got injured. Just how it goes. Max Garcia has legitimate experience and he's played some good games. So we can look at Max Garcia and say, okay, you actually have had good experience where you've played well. So I think that it's going to end up between Josh Ezeudu and I think it's going to be between Max Garcia. That's going to be the competition battle that I really want to see. I think you're right in the sense they're going to rotate these guys. I'm giving Shane Lemieux a fair shot nonetheless. If he wins the job, I'm all in to help support him and make sure that we have his back and whatnot. But I do think that Max Garcia and Josh Ezeudu are the best options on the team right now, simply because the upside is better. Shane Lemieux is a little bit undersized. He doesn't have the best reaction timing. He got beat a lot in pass protection because he did not understand how to block against stunts. And he just really had some trouble against bigger defensive tackles that could shift him out of the way. Ezeudu, you're not really shifting him out of the way. He's a big dude and he's strong as hell. And he's got quick feet to recover. So if Bobby Johnson gets his hands on him and really develops him, I think that he will end up, stealing that starting job. And there's two other things I want to say. Josh Ezeudu, there's two narratives that you could go with, right? On one side, if the Giants are really rebuilding right now, Ezeudu should get the reps, right? Because he perceivably would be the long-term solution there. Max Garcia is on a 1-year contract. So like he's a one and done type of player for the most part. Ezeudu, if you really want to develop a guy, got to give him the reps. You got to give him the time to develop in live action. The other part of that story, though, is that if Ezeudu struggles, Daniel Jones suffers. And that's the real guy you really need to evaluate, right? So you really got to evaluate Daniel Jones. So if that is the case, you need to whoever wins that position battle, it shouldn't be about reps and development for them. It should be about whoever's the best player right now, because the quarterback position is always going to be more important than left guard. So I think that's kind of the logic.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that train of thought. But when you're looking at a rookie who might perform better in practice, then you get on the field in the regular season and it's just a whole new monster. So when you're looking at Joshua Ezeudu, he might have a great summer. He might dominate every practice and every single rep, and then get into the regular season, get lined up against a guy that he's never faced in talent caliber before and just get beat and get worked. And then Daniel Jones suffers because of that. So for me, it's kind of like, who do I think will start? I would love to see Joshua Ezeudu starting. I hope that he has a dominant summer that, he can have. I hope that he has that and he does win that starting job because I want the young guys to win. So I know that we have a long-term answer at a position, right? But Max Garcia, you just kind of know there's more consistency there. It's more stability because he's played before. He's gone up against the best competition before. He is a veteran. So he knows what he's going to have to handle this year. So I think that just in terms of bringing stability for Daniel Jones and consistency, because even, amazing rookies will have great games, like a stretch of 3 great games, and then they'll have like 4 games in a row where they're just constantly getting beat. It's growing pains. It's just part of being a rookie and learning the NFL game. It's different than the collegiate game. So if you have a guy like Max Garcia who's consistently average to below, just slightly below average, it's kind of better than having those games where the guy is at top tier and then having those games where the guy is at bottom tier when you're Daniel Jones. You just need stability in front of you. So that's why I think ultimately Max Garcia will have that job because he is the most stable. until Joshua Zito is able to work out the kinks and become that stable option and provide that consistency to the Giants offensive line.
Exactly. You know, it's about consistency, right? So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to drop your starting 5 below. Really curious to see who you guys think will be starting for the Giants come day one. There's going to be a lot of action. We'll keep you updated on anything and everything offensive line. As always, injuries, knock on wood, progressions, rotations, everything. We got you guys covered this whole offseason and then into the season, of course. We'll make sure to get you guys even more information about this lovely Giants team that is taking tremendous steps forward with their coaching. And just the whole vibe seems different, honestly. The whole vibe, it's getting me jittery. It's getting me happy, right? It's been a long time, guys, since you guys have been watching us. We've sucked eggs for like 3 years. So let's get some happiness. Let's get some excitement. I really want this team to be good. You know, it seems like the vibes are changing. Bobby Johnson definitely wants to kick some ass, and hopefully this offensive line can body bag a couple guys this season, really, and we'll clip those for you as always. But make sure to have a phenomenal rest of your day. Like and subscribe along the YouTube channel and subscribe on Apple and Spotify. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants episode.
TVSO.